Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a really fascinating journey into a document you shared with us. HR is Dead Long Live HRv2.pdf by Dr. Red Butterfield.
Yeah, that's right.
Think of this as, well, your shortcut to understanding how generative artificial intelligence, or GAI, is set to really shake up the world of human resources.
Absolutely. Our mission on this deep dive really is to pull out the most critical insights from Dr. Butterfield's work.
Yeah.
We're going to explore how GAI isn't just tweaking HR a little bit.
No?
It's fundamentally changing how things operate, how organizations are structured, and, the very nature of work for all of us. We'll be looking at the exciting possibilities, but also alongside some potential challenges to be aware of.
In this document, it truly covers a lot of ground. Dr. Butterfield takes us all the way from the history of HR right through to specific kind of real-world examples of how GAI is already making its presence felt.
Mhm.
Things like recruitment and how companies develop their people. So get ready for some surprising facts and maybe those aha moments as we unpack this really significant shift. So let's
Yeah.
dive in.
Right.
Dr. Butterfield makes a pretty strong case that, well, traditional HR approaches are becoming outdated. What's the core of that argument?
Well, what's really striking is the pace of change we're facing now. You see, traditional HR, it's been relatively slow in adopting previous ways of automation and digitalization.
Right.
Dr. Butterfield points out that those earlier innovations, they were introduced at a much more gradual pace compared to the rapid advancements we're seeing with GAI.
Okay.
And because of that slower pace in the past, organizations, well, they had more time to adapt. But GAI's potential to influence everything from where and how we work to the skills that are needed,
Yeah.
it means that delaying adaptation now could have some pretty significant repercussions.
That makes sense. The document even illustrates this visually, doesn't it? Figure 1 shows this shift, like from more isolated HR expert roles to a much more collaborative setup, really emphasizing social and network collaboration as, I guess, a new way of thinking for HR. It's almost like HR is evolving from just a collection of separate functions into a much more interconnected web.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this need for a more connected approach is, well, it's further highlighted by the somewhat piecemeal way HR technology has often been implemented over the years.
Ah, okay.
Dr. Butterfield notes that many organizations, particularly smaller and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, they've ended up with this collection of disconnected systems, each one addressing a specific task in isolation.
Yeah, it's like having a bunch of different apps on your phone that just don't talk to each other. Inefficient and, let's be honest, probably a bit of a pain.
Exactly, a real pain.
So how does GAI potentially offer a solution to this kind of fragmentation?
Well, the potential really lies in GAI's ability to operate across these silos and provide a more unified perspective. Dr. Butterfield suggests that GAI can impact the fundamental aspects of work, the where, how, when, and what is done. And this also extends to the skills that are necessary and the training that will be required. So to effectively leverage this, the document stresses the need for a common technology platform, a sort of central hub that can connect the entire organization.
That brings us neatly to the current state of HR technology. The document mentions this massive HR tech industry, over 40,000 apps. I mean, that's just staggering.
It is staggering. And this vast ecosystem, it had a significant market value, estimated somewhere between, $17 billion and $23 billion back in 2021,
Wow.
with projections reaching over $76 billion by 2031. But what's fascinating here is that these estimates were made before the recent explosion of GAI capabilities.
Okay.
And this massive valuation before GAI really hit the scene, it just underscores the immense potential for disruption and innovation we're seeing now. It's not just about small improvements anymore.
So it's likely even bigger now, and Dr. Butterfield talks about a vendor battle for the future. What are the implications of that for HR departments?
Well, the main implication is a lot of uncertainty, frankly. As all these vendors compete and refine their GAI offerings, the impact on actual HR operations is still largely unknown.
Right.
And this is precisely why the document emphasizes how critical it is for HR to take control of its technology strategy instead of just, adopting whatever vendors are promoting loudest.
Yeah.
HR needs to be proactive. They need to define their needs and really drive the technology adoption process.
And this is where those concepts of causation versus effectuation come in, right? Can you break those down for us in this context?
Absolutely. So Dr. Butterfield contrasts the traditional causation approach, which is, linear, planned, aims to predict outcomes, with effectuation, which is more about experimenting and adapting based on the means you have available.
Okay.
Think of it like this. In the past, you might have said, okay, we have a problem with employee turnover, so we need a new exit interview system. That's causation. Identify the problem, seek a specific solution. Effectuation, in this GAI context, might be more like, right, we have access to these powerful GAI tools, let's experiment. How can they analyze employee sentiment data to proactively identify potential turnover risks, even if we don't have a perfectly defined turnover problem right now?
Ah, interesting.
So the document argues for shifting towards effectuation to navigate this rapidly evolving GAI landscape.
So it's less about having all the answers up front and more about like trying things out and adjusting as GAI develops.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And the document has a pretty clear call to action here, doesn't it?
It really does. Dr. Butterfield strongly encourages immediate strategic discussion and action. Both HR and the C-suite need to be involved
Right now.
right now. The key is to proactively integrate GAI into the overall business strategy right from the start. And this requires collaboration across different departments and a clear outcome-focused GAI strategy, possibly built around that central platform we mentioned earlier.
And the goal isn't just about making things more efficient, is it? The document mentions the importance of mutuality and collaboration being supported by GAI in the future organization.
Exactly. That's a crucial point. The future isn't just about automating tasks away. It's about creating a more collaborative and mutually beneficial environment for both employees and the organization, with GAI acting as an enabler.
Okay.
This also connects to the strategic decisions organizations will face about, should we build GAI applications ourselves or adopt solutions from vendors? They need to carefully consider things like cost, timing, and the skills they actually have in-house.
Now, with all this potential, the document also raises some really important considerations around public trust in GAI. What are the key areas the C-suite needs to be thinking about to maintain the workforce's confidence?
This is a critical area. Dr. Butterfield outlines quite a few factors that could impact workforce trust if they're not handled thoughtfully. Things like ensuring transparency in how GAI makes decisions, addressing potential bias and unfairness, that's a big one, managing privacy concerns related to data usage, navigating ethical dilemmas, mitigating security risks, avoiding too much concentration of power in AI development, preventing overdependence where human skills might decline, addressing fears about job displacement, considering potential economic inequality,
Oh, okay.
navigating legal complexities, being mindful of losing that human connection, preventing misinformation, anticipating unintended consequences, and clarifying who's accountable when AI makes mistakes.
That's a pretty comprehensive list of potential challenges. And the document includes that great quote from computer scientist Ye-Jin Choi: AI today is unbelievably intelligent and then shockingly stupid. Why is that perspective so important here?
Choi's quote is just a brilliant reminder, isn't it? While GAI has made incredible strides, it's not perfect. It's not this all-knowing entity. It can excel in some areas and then make surprisingly basic mistakes in others. So this really underscores the need for careful oversight and a balanced perspective when we're integrating GAI into HR and other organizational processes. We can't just blindly assume it'll always get it right.
But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? The document does highlight the significant opportunities GAI presents.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Butterfield is quite clear on this. GAI can be a very powerful tool for empowering employees and even for creating entirely new kinds of work. It's about helping people see how GAI can assist them in ways they might not have imagined, rather than just seeing it purely as a threat to their jobs.
And the impact of GAI isn't limited to just manual or routine tasks anymore, right? There seems to have been a shift in thinking about who will be most affected.
That's right. Initially, I think many people thought AI would primarily impact more manual or repetitive types of work.
Yeah, me too.
But with the advancements in GAI, research now suggests a significant impact on professions that traditionally require higher education. The educators, lawyers. Yeah. So this means our whole understanding of who knowledge workers are is evolving. The fundamental question then becomes, what new things will work, supported by GAI, allow organizations to do differently? And how will we design our management systems to effectively support this new way of working?
So, to really get a handle on this, the document gives a brief overview of the different types of GAI. Can you give us the key distinctions there?
Certainly, Dr. Butterfield basically categorizes GAI into text models and multimodal models. Text models like GPT-3, LaMDA, Llama, those are designed to generate high-quality natural language text.
Okay.
So they're good for tasks like translation, summarizing info, answering questions. These are the engines behind the AI that can now draft job descriptions, maybe personalize candidate emails, even summarize interview transcripts. Then you have multimodal models like GPT-4, DLE, Stable Diffusion, even Progen. These can work with different types of data, combining text with images or even biological data like protein structures to generate new outputs. Understanding these different capabilities is pretty essential for HR to choose the right tools for specific needs.
And how effective these tools are also depends heavily on the organization's structure, doesn't it? The document talks about traditional hierarchies versus these new era designs.
Precisely. Dr. Butterfield argues that traditional hierarchical structures, with their top-down control, have really struggled to keep pace with the rapid societal and technological changes we've seen in recent decades.
Yeah, things move too fast.
Exactly. GAI presents an opportunity to fundamentally rethink how organizations are designed and managed, moving towards models that better integrate these human and technological workforces. And this shift also accelerates the timeline for automating work, potentially reaching levels of automation maybe a decade sooner than previous estimates suggested.
Wow. So we're potentially looking at a move away from traditional roles defined by specific job titles within specialist departments towards more fluid, skills-based approaches in flatter, more networked organizations.
That's certainly the direction Dr. Butterfield suggests. These flatter structures are just more adaptable and better positioned to leverage the versatile capabilities of a workforce augmented by GAI.
Now let's consider how HR currently operates. The document paints a picture of a function with various roles, different layers of hierarchy.
Yes, Figure 3 gives examples of different functions and roles within HR, while Figure 4 visually illustrates the significant overlap that can often exist between these roles.
Hmm.
Dr. Butterfield points out that while there might be a lot of different job titles floating around in HR, the actual number of management layers can range from, say, 3 to 6, depending on how large the organization is. And this complexity, well, it can sometimes lead to activities that don't add significant value and just create overall inefficiencies.
And HR departments have actually seen growth since the COVID pandemic, haven't they? Figure 5 shows growth in areas like DE&I and people analytics in bigger companies,
Right.
and maybe talent management in L&D in smaller ones.
That's correct. The pandemic really shone a spotlight on the critical role of HR, leading to increased workloads and, yes, adding staff in many areas. However, despite this growth, Figure 5 also shows that the ratio of HR staff to the total number of employees has remained relatively consistent,
Interesting.
which raises important questions. Is HR truly adding more value? Is it achieving greater efficiency through technology? Or is it effectively empowering managers across the organization? These are questions we need to ask.
And Figure 6 gives us that snapshot of where HR professionals spend their time, with admin tasks and record keeping often taking up a big chunk of their day.
Exactly. That reinforces the idea that a considerable amount of HR's time is still dedicated to more transactional administrative duties. GAI offers the potential to automate many of these routine activities, freeing up HR professionals to focus on more strategic and, frankly, people-centric work.
Okay, let's delve into a specific example the document uses: recruitment. Figure 7 outlines a traditional sort of step-by-step recruiting process, which looks incredibly time-intensive.
Oh, it certainly is. Dr. Butterfield provides some really eye-opening time estimates for various manual recruiting activities. Everything from initially pasting a job opening to completing background checks,
Yeah.
often adding up to the equivalent of a full day's work for an HR employee for each candidate process.
Wow, for each one.
Yeah. And this time pressure, combined with increased employee turnover since the pandemic, is contributing to a noticeable rise in complaints from candidates.
And those candidate complaints seem pretty consistent, don't they? Things like vague job descriptions, lack of communication during the process, lengthy timelines, issues that have been frustrating candidates for ages.
Precisely. These aren't new problems. And Dr. Butterfield points out that earlier attempts to introduce technology into recruiting often didn't actually solve these underlying issues, and in some cases might have even made them worse.
Right.
So the opportunity with GAI is to really address these shortcomings by taking more control over how recruitment technologies are designed and implemented, particularly in areas like crafting clear and engaging job descriptions right from the start.
So how does GAI envision this new era of people and GAI in organizations? It introduces this concept of futocracy. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, Futocracy. Dr. Butterfield introduces it as one example of a new era organizational model. The aim is to be more supportive and collaborative by effectively leveraging the relationship between people and GAI.
Okay.
It's built on 5 core principles. Organize around the actual work that needs doing, provide autonomy through distributed authority, foster an entrepreneurial mindset, ensure alignment with the organization's purpose, and maintain transparency. Figure 8 gives a visual of this network structure. It includes strategic, purpose alignment, and operational domains, and it has these network weavers acting as coaches and advisors within the system.
Network weavers. Interesting term.
Isn't it? So essentially, Futocracy is a vision for a more agile, collaborative organization where work and authority are distributed, purpose and transparency are central, and it all leverages the capabilities of GAI.
And what capabilities does GAI currently have that make this Futocratic model or maybe other new era models more attainable? Figure 9 gives us a sense of the possibilities, right?
Right. Figure 9 highlights the broad range of applications for GAI across various business functions. Dr. Butterfield emphasizes that we're transitioning from a stage of, let's say, limited AI adoption to a future where enterprise-wide AI, powered by GAI, becomes a real possibility. And this can free up the workforce from those time-consuming repetitive tasks, allowing them to concentrate on higher-value activities, generating insights, developing strategy, ultimately driving business value. It also opens the door to moving beyond some, frankly, outdated approaches to performance management.
This leads us to some pretty crucial strategic decisions for HR in this age of GAI. The document revisits the well-known Ulrich model and introduces the network dispersion model as another option.
Yes, Dr. Butterfield emphasizes that integrating GAI effectively across the organization is crucial for its success. He discusses the Ulrich model, the three-legged stool, with shared service centers, SSCs, HR business partners, HRBPs, and centers of expertise, COEs.
Yep, familiar with that one.
And contrasts it with the network dispersion model, where HR-related responsibilities are more distributed, maybe among working teams or even external providers.
Yeah.
He suggests that the dispersal model might be particularly well-suited for organizations embracing GAI.
Why is that?
Well, because it allows for breaking away from traditional HR structures and encourages broader involvement of the entire workforce in certain HR-related aspects.
And how does this Futocracy concept fit with these different HR operational models? Figure 10 provides an interesting way of looking at that.
Yeah, Figure 10 illustrates how the Ulrich model can be conceptually sort of mapped onto the Futocracy network structure.
Yeah.
The SSC, for example, can function as a network team, or its responsibilities could be more dispersed.
Okay.
The COE aligns nicely with the purpose alignment team within Futocracy, and the network weaver role is seen as an evolution of the traditional HRBP. So it suggests that these newer organizational models can be flexible enough to accommodate various HR operational approaches in a GAI-driven world.
Okay, now let's really dig into how GAI can transform specific HR functions. We touched on recruiting, but the document provides a really detailed look at this.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Dr. Butterfield meticulously walks through each stage of the traditional recruiting process and overlays the potential impact of GAI at each step.
That's quite something.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, identifying a vacancy.
Right. So, for identifying a vacancy, GAI can help us move from just reacting to a need to being much more strategic. It can provide automated reminders, analyze current skills ratios within the organization, identify potential internal talent,
Wow.
and even predict future skills shortages based on business plans or market trends. This could even lead to more collaborative internal skill distribution and potentially reduce the need for external hiring altogether in some cases.
That's a big shift. What about the job description and person specification?
Here, GAI can quickly access up-to-date information on required skills, competencies, typical responsibilities. It can also search for similar roles externally to benchmark. And this raises an interesting question. For more standard positions, is an HR expert always required at this initial drafting stage? Maybe not. Provocative. And when it comes to advertising vacancies, the rise of internal talent marketplaces seems particularly significant, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Dr. Butterfield highlights research from companies like Schneider Electric and Deloitte, showing real benefits of these internal marketplaces.
What kind of benefits?
Things like improving access to opportunities for employees, enabling their development, facilitating career advancement, and promoting DE&I. They really empower employees.
Yeah.
And GAI plays a crucial role here by assisting in creating and publishing job ads across various internal and external platforms, potentially with minimal direct human intervention while still ensuring things like legal requirements are met.
Managing the flood of responses from candidates and that initial shortlisting process, those also seem like areas ripe for GAI improvements.
Definitely. GAI can efficiently scan incoming applications, automatically categorize candidates based on predefined criteria, send personalized and even, importantly, empathetic responses to applicants.
Empathetic. Interesting.
Yeah, keeping that human touch even when automated. And it can anonymize applications to help reduce unconscious bias.
Yeah.
It could also, with appropriate legal and ethical checks, conduct initial social media checks earlier in the process.
Okay.
And it can prepare summarized candidate info for human decision makers, comparing candidates based on key criteria, even helping with interview scheduling. Plus, automatically sending personalized updates to both shortlisted and rejected candidates that significantly reduces admin burden and improves the candidate experience, which we know can be poor.
Massively. And the selection process itself, GAI, could potentially transform that beyond just the traditional interview format.
Exactly. GAI could be used to generate insightful interview questions tailored to the role and the specific candidate. It might even conduct initial screening interviews to assess basic qualifications and communication skills. And in terms of assessment, GAI can facilitate simulated work scenarios, test a wider range of skills, cognitive ability, creativity, numerical reasoning, using various media formats. Dr. Butterfield even references a TED Talk example about AI in education to illustrate some possibilities for personalized assessment. It's quite forward-thinking.
Okay, so even the more admin tasks around final interviews, checks, references, contracting GAI can streamline those. But it sounds like the area of onboarding could see a particularly dramatic shift.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Dr. Butterfield dedicates a significant amount of discussion to how GAI could revolutionize onboarding, especially now with more remote and hybrid work environments needing flexible approaches.
How so? Give us some examples.
Okay, well, imagine creating highly personalized training plans based on individual roles and skill gaps automatically. Having 247 support through AI chatbots that can answer common new hire questions instantly. Automating routine communication and paperwork. Efficiently managing documentation and compliance. Tracking new hire performance and engagement in real time. Creating interactive onboarding portals tailored to the individual. Aiding cultural integration through virtual introductions or information sharing.
Okay, that's already a lot.
But there's more. Proactively gathering feedback on the onboarding experience, ensuring accessibility of materials, adapting to different work schedules and time zones, assisting with security checks, recommending relevant resources.
Wow.
And then he explores using virtual world Think VRR for immersive training, maybe equipment familiarization, virtual office tours, gamification to make learning engaging, virtual team spaces, 360-degree videos, mixed reality, social VR platforms for networking, webinars, virtual mentorship, data analytics to track effectiveness, even virtual team building. It's extensive.
It sounds like GAI can handle a tremendous amount of the more routine, maybe time-consuming aspects of recruitment and onboarding. That really frees up HR professionals for more strategic, human-focused interactions, doesn't it?
That's the central idea, exactly. The document emphasizes this fundamental shift. HR roles move away from being primarily focused on admin and transactions
Right.
to roles that are much more about connecting people and fostering collaboration. It revisits some criticisms of the HR business partner role in the traditional Ulrich model, suggesting the Futocratic model with its team-based networks and the GAI-supported network weaver role might be more effective.
How does GAI support that network weaver?
Well, GAI can act as a valuable tutor and coach for the business aspects of the role, providing data insights and analysis, complementing the human's essential emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills.
So it seems clear that HR professionals will need to develop a whole new set of competencies, really, that go beyond traditional admin and transactional tasks.
Right.
What does strategic HR in the age of GAI actually look like?
Well, it's fundamentally about deeply understanding the interconnectedness of the overall business strategy and the people strategy. They can't be separate things.
Right.
Dr. Butterfield references research I'm going back to Bath University in 2003, highlighting the critical importance of having integrated HR practices in a supportive work environment to foster that discretionary effort and motivation among employees.
Okay.
He explains how Futocracy's principles can actually support the Ulrich model's pillars, the SSC, or a network providing operational connection, and the Purpose Alignment Team, or COE, focusing on strategic planning. Crucially, GAI significantly enhances strategy development. By by analyzing vast amounts of both business and people data, providing real-time insights, customer segmentation, supply chain optimization, risk management, and integrating that business and people data for much more informed scenario planning. Strategy becomes much more dynamic.
And performance management, that clearly needs to evolve too in this new environment, right?
Oh, absolutely. The document emphasizes the strong link between motivation and performance, referencing contemporary evidence-based theories of work motivation.
And warning against outdated ones.
Exactly. Cautioning against relying on outdated or discredited approaches. It suggests how GAI can be applied to tools like the multidimensional work motivation scale to get deeper insights into what drives individuals. It can even facilitate real-time feedback and personalized support, maybe through mobile apps.
But not surveillance.
No.
But
He strongly emphasizes avoiding surveillance technologies as a means of motivation. That's counterproductive.
good. Finally, let's touch on how GAI can enhance workforce development within organizations.
Right. GAI has huge potential here. Think more sophisticated skill gap analysis, predictive analytics for succession planning, providing continuous personalized performance feedback, enhancing learning management systems,
Mm.
enabling more data-driven decisions about training investments, automating routine L&D tasks, providing deeper insights into employee engagement, facilitating dynamic career pathing, creating more adaptive and personalized onboarding experiences.
It sounds really personalized.
Exactly. The idea of personalized learning, where every employee could potentially have their own AI-powered consultant and trainer, like in that TED Talk reference, that's a really transformative concept for development.
So, to bring everything together, Dr. Butterfield references Professor Dave Ulrich's reflections from back in 2017 on HR's progress. What's the key takeaway for us now, considering everything we've discussed today about GAI?
Well, Ulrich acknowledged the advancements HR had made then, but also emphasized the ongoing need for HR to adapt and evolve.
Right.
Dr. Butterfield argues, pretty convincingly I think, that since 2017, the rapid changes in business, society, and particularly in technology with GAI emerging so powerfully, represent the most significant challenge and opportunity in HR's history.
His biggest ever.
Quite possibly.
Okay.
He predicts the emergence of a fundamentally new way of operating for HR. People remain central, absolutely, but HR's role fundamentally shifts to ensure seamless connection and collaboration between people and these powerful new technologies.
So, the key message isn't that HR is dead or becoming obsolete, but rather that it's undergoing this profound, maybe exciting transformation driven by GAI's capabilities
Yeah, exciting is a good word.
into something more strategic, more connective, and ultimately more collaborative within organizations.
Precisely. It's about the evolution to, let's call it HR version 2, a reimagined role that harnesses GAI's power to truly empower people and drive organizational success in fundamentally new ways.
This has been a truly illuminating deep dive. It really prompts you, doesn't it, to consider how these significant changes might impact your own work and the organizations you're part of.
Definitely food for thought.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Given that current AI, as insightful as it can be, also has its, well, surprising limitations, those shockingly stupid moments, how can organizations proactively plan for and navigate these aspects to build more resilient and truly human-centered workplaces in the future?
And for those of you who want to explore this topic further, Dr. Butterfield mentions a Futocracy live stream discussion forum happening on November 2nd. Sounds like a valuable opportunity to continue this important conversation.
We highly encourage you to delve deeper into the source material itself. HR is dead long live HR v2.pdf, and really consider the broader implications of everything we've discussed today. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.